Hey guys, it's Cece, and today I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free review. The book that I'm going to be reviewing today is a new release. It will be coming out on May 10th, and that is Jerkbait by Mia Siegert. So first, I just want to give you a quick summary of this book in general. It follows twins Robbie and Tristan, and they are both involved in hockey. Robbie is clearly the better of the two at hockey, so he is definitely a draft prospect for the NHL. Tristan and Robbie have definitely not been close their entire lives, and then Robbie tries to commit suicide. As it turns out, he is a closeted hockey player, and this is becoming very, very difficult for him, the concept of being gay in the world of pro sports, and so Tristan has to try to take care of him despite the fact that they've never really had a relationship. That's basically the concept of this book. There's a bit more that it says on the back, but some of that stuff does not happen until the end of the book, so I think I'm just going to leave my summary there. My basic thoughts about this book were that the first two-thirds were really, really good and addressed some really important topics, but the last one-third I wasn't quite as big a fan of. So first, let's talk about the good. So first good thing. This book is narrated from the point of view of Tristan. It is a first-person point of view, and I really enjoyed Tristan's character. I felt like his references to pop culture and fandom felt really authentic, which was nice because oftentimes it can come off in young adult books as people who don't quite know what they're talking about but are trying to make you believe that they know how teenagers talk, and it definitely does not work, especially with fandom stuff, but this actually did a really good job of using the correct language and making it feel really authentic. I also thought Tristan's connection to musical theater was interesting. It was a super interesting thing to explore, and all of the side characters that we got from the musical theater side of Tristan's life were fantastic, and I really liked them as side characters, like, so much. I liked them a lot more than the side characters who were on the hockey team because I felt like we didn't get to know them quite as well. I also thought this book did a really good job of exploring the way homophobia presents itself in a sports setting. It is an incredibly important issue, and I think that it was done very well in the way that it showed how utterly terrifying it can be to be gay in a world like the world that Robbie is a part of. And I definitely think that it is a feeling and a story that there are plenty of gay teens out there can connect with. I also really loved the way that the tension built between Robbie and Tristan's family in general. The way that the overbearing sports dad who's living his dreams through his son was written didn't feel cliche, even though that's kind of a cliche character. It was written really convincingly, which honestly made it all the sadder as it went on and just all the more difficult to read about. Reading about any of Tristan and Robbie's interactions with their parents was so tough because it felt so realistic the way that Tristan had been overlooked and the way that they were still treating Robbie differently because he is a draft prospect. Also, the way that Tristan had difficulties in understanding and connecting with his brother even after this suicide attempt, I thought were incredibly well done. Honestly, I really liked the fact that after Tristan finds out that Robbie tried to commit suicide, they don't immediately get all buddy-buddy and have these deep emotional talks. That's 18 years of resentment that have been building up, and I appreciated the fact that this book didn't just think that could be wished away. And I think that it also made Tristan a much more interesting character to read about. 18 years worth of sibling rivalry and difficulties with your parents cannot be fixed with the flip of a switch, and I loved that this book explored the emotional bits of that. And now I want to talk about some of the bad. So my main problem with this book, as I said at the beginning, was the last third. I thought the ending was so rushed and cram-packed with way too much stuff. Way too much happened in way too short a period of time, and every time something new happened and I was trying to adjust to the new situation, it would just be resolved before I could appreciate the fact that this book had been building up to a climax and we'd reached it. It was just gone. It was so fast, and that really bothered me, pacing-wise, because stuff happened at the beginning of this book, but it wasn't super high stakes, and then the end of this book was super high stakes, and it just didn't quite meld together. One of my other problems with this book is a problem that I see in a lot of YA contemporary, and it's always really frustrating, and that is when the best friend of the main character gets estranged before we even understand why they're best friends. I mean to say, at the beginning, the main character's like, this is my best friend, and so you have very specific expectations going in as to their relationship, and we are like never shown the positives of their relationship. It is immediate alienation, and that happens so often in YA, and it's really frustrating because I want to be like, why were you ever friends? Like, if you only give me the reveal, I don't understand how we got there, and yeah, so that was really frustrating as well. Finally, I think that this book could have strongly benefited from more of Robbie's perspective. Learning about homophobia and forced closeting in a sports perspective would have been much more fascinating and much more emotional to read about if we'd been hearing about it from the actual gay teen. Maybe it's because I just read a different YA book that was from the point of view of a straight person exploring the difficulties of the gay people in their lives, but it just made it sort of difficult to read at times because I wanted to hear the perspective of the person who was going through all of this pain, and I want to be able to hear about queer stories from queer characters. It wasn't quite as big a problem near the beginning because I understand, you know, that was kind of the build and the tension, but near the end, I feel like Robbie went through some incredibly emotional things and we never got to hear what he felt about any of these things, and that's what I wanted to hear about the most. Overall, I still think that this book is an incredibly important one. There definitely need to be more books talking about LGBTQIA+ people within the sports world. It is definitely an issue that needs to be talked about more. I appreciated that this book called attention to a few different organizations that already exist to help gay athletes, and that was really nice. But overall, there need to be more books like this and more books talking about this topic because it is a very scary concept and a very difficult world, I think, that needs to just be talked about more. So overall, in the end, I wound up giving this book a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Like I said at the beginning, this book comes out on May 10th, and you can go ahead and go check it out if you would like to. I will leave the link to the Goodreads page down below so you can go and read more about it. Okay guys, there you go. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I hope that you have heard some things that would be interesting to you regarding Jerkbait, whether you were deciding to read it or not. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!